Hi everybody, welcome to the Oldish. This is the place to be if you are aging, and who isn't, or if you have parents who are aging, because we talk about everything having to do with getting older, right here at the Oldish. My name is Karen Brown, I'm the publisher and editor of the Oldish, and I am so happy to welcome you here. If you've been with us before, welcome back. If this is your first time, a big welcome to you, and I hope you'll find our material engaging and appropriate for the stage of life where you are at. Now today we're going to talk about something that I got a lot of questions from last week's live about, and that was when I said something about drawing a line from where you are now to where you want to be. I got a lot of questions from people asking in messages what I meant by that, how you do that, how they should go about that. So I've got a lot of notes here. So we're gonna follow this process through and hopefully give you the answers to all the questions you have been asking. So as I have said over and over again, the goal and the best thing for the vast majority of people is to be independent, absolutely independent, to make decisions for yourself before other people make decisions for you. Now, it's all too easy as we age for our adult children to say, you know, Mom, maybe you should do this. And even though they may mean well, that might not be what we want. So, you know, we also get influenced by our friends, by the media, and by trends that seem to be out there. But when you think about trends and what they have been in this business of growing older, nothing much has moved. So if you're going to go with the herd, you're going to be going with something that really hasn't changed substantially in decades. So think about it. The way that people have aged and the process that I think a lot of people still assume they're going to go through is that they retire from their job, they spend a bit of time traveling or pursuing hobbies, gardening, fixing up the house, whatever it is they like to do, and then at some point they go into retirement living. From there they move to long-term care and or nursing care, and then they die. That's the process. Like I say, it hasn't changed in decades, but we have changed. How we age and how people choose to live their lives has changed substantially. You know, this business of the grandma with her white hair in a bun in the kitchen wearing an apron and baking cookies is just simply not the case for the vast majority of us anymore. Back in the day, and it wasn't so far ago, women didn't work. There weren't a lot of opportunities for older adults, and seniors weren't really as engaged with their lives in a big way, the way that they can be now. So a lot has changed. Think about this way. If we retire at 65, some will do it sooner, some will do it later, but let's just take 65 as a marker. You still have 2 to 3 decades, maybe more, of good life ahead of you. 2 to 3 decades. Look back on your life at any decade and think how much living you did in that 10-year span. Well, you got maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe more of those ahead of you after you retire. That's a third of your life. Don't you want to be productive and live it the way that you choose, the way that you choose independently? So thanks to medical science, we are now living much longer than our forebears. Not necessarily healthier, but there are things you can do to impact that as well. And we've talked a lot about that. Now, as the saying goes, God laughs while we make plans. I totally think that's true, but I'd rather plan my life than have somebody else take over the reins. If you're somebody who wants to leave it all to fate, this show is not for you. In fact, the Oldish may not be for you because we're all about proactive aging. So if we're your cup of tea, hang in with us. If not, thanks. But maybe one of our shows down the road will be more in keeping with how you want to live your life, and that's fine. Illness and unforeseen events absolutely happen. They do. And we can't control that necessarily. We can't plan for that. But I'm not going to sit around and wait for that stuff to happen just in case. I'm going to plan my life. And if something unforeseen happens, then you take a beat, you replan, and you move forward with the new plan. So what I want you to do is get out a piece of paper and draw a line down the long side. So I've done that here. The lights might be very bright for you to see, but I've just drawn a line down the long side. Doesn't matter if you prefer to go like this or like this. It matters not. Down at the bottom here, I have put the age I am now. Okay, so I cheated. I put 60. I'm 64. But just whatever your age is, and you may already have retired, and that's fine. Whatever the age you are now, put it here, because this is your plan. Everybody ages differently. Everybody's aging experience is different. So this is all about you. So put the age that you are here. If you haven't yet retired, go up a bit and put another line at the age where, you can see there's a line, right? A little line right there that you can see. Put a line right there, and next to it, put the age you think you'll be when you retire. Pretty simple. I put 65. I actually don't plan to retire, but regardless, this is all about independent living. So the next thing that's going to affect your ability to be independent that you know about now is when you stop driving. Let's face it, you're going to stop driving at some point. That is a sure thing. So I've put that up here a little bit, and I've just estimated an age at 80. Now these ages can shift. What's important is that what's between the lines doesn't change. It just means that your engagement with those actions ends sooner or later. That's all. The execution is really what matters more than anything. So be realistic about that. And at the top of the page, by the way, I've written end. So that's when my life ends. And there's planning to be done about that too. Some of the stuff isn't fun, but it is within your control to plan this and see what happens. Okay, so be realistic. This is about making a plan before you are forced to make a plan, okay? Independence is the name of the game. Nobody really knows when you're going to die. I said that here about putting the end goal there. Nobody really knows, but I can only plan what I think the probabilities are. Okay, so now you've got the major life events noted and the planning begins. First, the very first thing you've got to do is get a handle on your finances. You have got to know how much income you and your partner will have every month. This is going to determine where you can live and how you can live. So you've got to understand that. Something else you have to understand if you have a partner is the probability that one of you will die before the other. When that happens, your finances will change. So how much money will you have if your partner predeceases you? And the other way around, because it can be very different. It can be, one partner may have been a higher earner, may have a higher pension, may have different benefits. So those numbers are going to shift a little bit, and you've got to understand how much money you're going to have. There we go. I just had a warning message come up here that said my screen hadn't been calibrated. Anyway, I didn't know if you could see that or not, but you don't need to see that. So the probability is that one of you will predecease the other. You've really got to have a handle on that. Not a great discussion, but sit down with your financial planner and figure it out. Because here's the thing. When and if you move, you may want to consider moving to a place that can be handled with the income of one of you instead of both of you. Or you may think it's okay to move twice. Your decision, entirely your decision. So we know that certain things can impact your independence, things like falls, illness, injuries of some other kind. We have talked before about fall prevention and making your home safe for you. That video, it was just a couple of weeks ago, so if you haven't had a chance to watch that yet, go back and pick it up. We are also working on an ebook around making your home safe for you to age in place. That'll be coming out, I think, in about 3 months. Depends on how long some of these processes take, but about 3 months. And that'll be available for you as well. So these steps about fall prevention are things that you should be doing. You should be doing this because, when we're younger, we don't really think about the placement of furniture. We don't think about grab bars. We don't think about tucking cords away or how hazardous throw rugs can be. But you've got to think about those things because you want to take every possible precaution to prevent a fall. That is the number one thing that will change your status from independent to dependent in a heartbeat. So you want to make sure you do that. At some point between now and the time you give up your license, you may also want to think about living on one floor. So if you're living in the family home and it's 2 stories and you're in a suburban community or a rural environment, that family home may have been 2 stories. Think about the possibility of living on 1 story. Can you do it? Is there some place where you can fashion a bedroom? Is there a washroom on that main floor that can be kitted out to suit you better as an older adult? That's something you can think about, and that will certainly allow you to continue living in the family home for longer. That's a good thing for you. Now, I know that leaving the family home is something that is very traumatic, not something that people love to think about, but you're really going to have to force yourself to think about the compromises that you're willing to make in order to remain independent. I know that you look around your family home. My kids, they don't really understand what it means when I say that when I look at them, I see every bit of them from the moment they were born until now. And I know that parents out there will relate to that. In a heartbeat, I see all of them. So you look around your family home and you see that family Christmas. You see the family gathered around the dining room table for some event. You see baking cookies in the kitchen and you see those barbecues in the backyard. Completely understand that. However, if your home is large, it may become too much for you to manage, and you may, for the sake of your independence, your continued independence, need to consider moving to something that is more in keeping with the needs of your age, as it will be. The family home suited your needs for your family. Now you need to look at suiting yourself. Presumably your children have grown and gone and have their own homes and are raising children of their own, or they're off at university. Whatever it is that they're doing, they're not part of the people who live at your family home now. So it may be time to move on. You need to take charge of all of that because you definitely want to have the voice in this decision and in these contemplations. When you give up your driver's license, there is a whole new bundle of challenges that come into place. Now remember, independence. How are you going to get groceries? How are you going to get to your doctor's appointments? How are you going to get out for social events? That Tai Chi class or the walking group. Maybe you're a churchgoer. How are you going to get to church? You aren't independent if somebody comes and does all of these things for you. Yes, you can have taxis come and collect you to take you everywhere. Yes, you can have groceries bought for you. Yes, you can have a trainer come in and work with you on your exercise program. If you've got all kinds of money, you can do anything you want to do. That's not me, and it's not the majority of you either. So if you're independent, you can take yourself to do all of these things. You can get to public transit. You can call a taxi. You can walk to these things. All right? I know that for many of you, you have older children who say, it's okay, Mom, I'll come and pick you up once a week and we'll go and do the groceries. Understand that this business of, I will come and pick you up, quickly devolves into, let's just stop at the pharmacy. Let's go to the post office. Yes, you've got that doctor's appointment. Okay, I'll take half a day off work and I'll come and pick you up and take you to the doctor's appointment. I want my children to retain me as their mother. I have no desire to have my children be my caregivers. So in some families, that may be something that is assumed. Maybe that's what you're used to. In some cultures, families look after one another from birth to death, and that is fine. You need to design the situation that is best for you. For me, I don't want my children being my caregivers. I want to stay their mother. That's just for me. You also need to be aware that for a lot of caregivers, and we've done shows on this before and articles on this before, caregivers who are family caregivers, so unpaid volunteer caregivers, very quickly and often become ill themselves, become isolated from their friends. It is not uncommon for a caregiver to die before the person for whom they are providing care because it can be so burdensome. I remember a show that I watched, and I'm pretty sure we posted a link to it as well on our Facebook page, but it goes back some time ago. And it was a show that was on CBC, so in Canada, that's the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. And it was a documentary that followed a man over the space of several years, from the time his wife became diagnosed with dementia until he finally had to put her in a facility for his own health. And it broke his heart to do it, but he had to do it because his life was so dramatically impacted. And his story is not unique. His story is very normal. At the beginning, he said, yes, I'm going to look after her. We were married for better or for worse, and this is what I'm going to do. But then her challenges became greater until he was having to lift her out of her bed and onto the toilet, off of the toilet and into the bathtub. And it's not that he wasn't happy to do these things for her. It's not that he didn't have all the best intentions in the world. It was that it physically became too much for him because he was the same age as her. And the physical demands, the emotional toll that it took on him, it was just so great that he finally had to be persuaded to look at other options. So, that's really something you need to factor into this when you're making your choices. There are options available. Now, I think of a community that's south of where I live by about half an hour, where it is a 3-stage housing setup. So as a senior who is independent and able-bodied, you can rent an apartment there. It has a full kitchen, 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom, and you can live there. If as you deteriorate in your health, you want a bit of help, there's lots there that is pay as you play. So you can go down and take meals in their dining room. You can have somebody do your cleaning for you. You can have somebody do your laundry for you. You can have whatever services you want to pay for. This community includes a health center. Right across the road is a fairly substantial mall. There's a grocery store, a drugstore, lots of clothing stores. There are lots of little restaurants, little eating areas in there as well. They have lots and lots of events for aging seniors, so lots of opportunity for social engagement. Right outside of this complex is a transit stop, so public transit. This is great, and as your health deteriorates, you can move into their retirement living and into their nursing care area. So there are lots of those around in big cities, not so much in small towns. As I've said before, the town where I live, not great for aging in place because there's no public transit. The rec facility is aging and they can't seem to decide what they want to do with it. There are plenty of older homes, but to get to where your groceries are takes a taxi. I can't really walk to it myself, so I may have to look at another community to age in place in if they don't do something here. You never know, but these are decisions that you have to look at. So you could also choose to move in with an adult child if that is a mutually agreed to circumstance. You could move in with friends. Now, we've talked about that before. Friends creating co-op environments, even strangers. You can, purchase or rent a room with common living facilities. there are lots and lots of new things popping up where people are actually taking the bull by the horns, and they're creating environments for themselves and for their friends. And that might be just great. Over 90% of people will never live in retirement or nursing home care in Canada. In the States, I think the figure is fairly similar. So, basically what you want to figure out is, what does this look like for you? It's a process. So you want to, have your sheet, and you want to have your line, and estimate your ages at various milestones, and figure out what needs to be done between the milestones so that you design for yourself the life that you want to lead. Now, even that part at the end days, there is a document on the oldish.com. It's in the toolbox, so you have to be a member to be able to go get it. Membership is free. Don't worry about that. There is a tool there that is a health directive for dementia. It was developed by doctors at a hospital in Chicago, and it is really an excellent document. You can download that and you can fill it out. It's 3 pages. It deals I think the whole document is 4 pages, because the first page is instructions. But the next 3 pages are the same questions, but they are meant to be answered with regard to your wishes in the 3 stages of dementia. So you get to make these choices, and you get to fill it out. It's a thoughtful process, and it takes time. But if you make your wishes known, that is so much more helpful to those who are left to make these decisions, probably your adult children. So, as I said earlier, these ages along this continuum may wiggle a bit, but it's all about having the conversations, doing the research, understanding the options that are available, and more importantly, making the decisions. You need to make the decisions about where you're going to be. Talk with your family about it. Talk with your friends about it, because they may have ideas. If you've got age-mate friends who are making plans themselves, or maybe haven't watched this show and don't understand how they can design their own process for these decisions, you can make these kinds of decisions through thoughtful conversation with people who are at the same place in their life as you are. When you move through the process, it becomes something that you consider in your day-to-day life. So the what-ifs become part of your thinking. Is this a good time to sell my home? Is the market good for this now? Is that new condo village that they're building something I could see myself in? Where do my grandchildren live? Do I want to be closer to them? Is that practical? Should I be participating in the planning processes that my town or city comes up with? These are all things that you can think about when you design your next adventure. So put it in your thought process, make your little 1-pager, and think about the questions and the options, and then move through it over the days, weeks, and months ahead. And before you know it, you'll have a plan to be oldish. So thank you for joining us. I do appreciate your time here. Don't forget to like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest. Wherever you are is where we are too. And if you haven't yet subscribed to our newsletter, you can do that if you're in Facebook. Over on the left-hand side, if you are on a desktop, you can subscribe to that newsletter. If you go to our website, which is the oldish.com, you can subscribe to our website at the top of the main page, or to the right of any article that you come to. I had to think about where that was. It's on the right-hand side. It says subscribe to newsletter. So you can do that. And what we will be sending you, we're doing it monthly now. We'll see how everybody likes it. We may bump that up and do it bi-weekly. We'll see. We'll see how everybody likes it. What we do in that newsletter is show you and give you links to the articles that people were reading the most, links to articles that I think you should be reading, links to videos that we think you should be seeing, and the odd time there is a free giveaway. So do subscribe to that, and remember that we are here every Wednesday at 12 noon. We look forward to seeing you next Wednesday here on the Oldish TV, and until then, please be well. Do remember also that it takes a village to age a senior. Bye, everybody.